You'd think I know how to time this better. My camera isn't working yet, but we'll be right there. At least the microphone works.
Make it so.
Make it so. Camera. Toggle different camera. Toggle main camera. No. Camera resolution changed. Re-enable NVIDIA broadcast. Re-enable and what did you tell me? Re-enable NVIDIA broadcast camera in any app by using it. Okay. So I should just have to deactivate and reactivate it. There it goes. All right. Almost done. Come on, music. Did I even start the music? I heard music just now. Hello? Let's go back home. Something went wrong. So Slipstream seems to be having issues today. That's fun. It's okay. I can always switch to Spotify. Or we can just have a no music stream today. And you can hear the music on the Gamey stream or anyone else's for that matter. Home. Mm-hmm. I'm still trying to reload Slipstream anyway. Whatever. Okay, I am done chewing. Hello, 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 and welcome to another one line of code. Watashi wa one line desu. Hajimemashite. I hope you're having a great day so far. It is a Wednesday, which is usually the middle of the week for most people. Which one of you guys is the music? This one? Just in case it does start working. And I'm struggling to figure out where we're going to go today. I've been working on so many things at the same time lately. I got pulled into a few different directions with user accounts. We did that thing on Monday. Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was thinking about programming. Oh yeah, I guess you can't really see the bottom of this shirt. Oh my gosh, the mouse cursor looks amazing on the camera. Yeah. Click, click, click. Anyway, I need Big Gamey's camera. I was gonna get one of those. I still haven't, but I really like his Bit Shirty Redemption. So anyway, we're deciding where to go. I had user accounts to deal with. On Monday, we did the thing where the application, the identity service that I'm using, which is essentially just if you create a new Blazor web app using .NET 8, I took all of the code from that, threw it into a component library, and I'm going to use that in all of the applications. So I added that to the chain of custody application so that the next time the users log into the chain of custody application, they would have a SQL login generated for them using the same password that they use for the regular applications, because there is still one application that they need access to. The only thing that it does though is it creates a SQL login. It doesn't give them read permissions to anything. Yeah, they just don't have any permissions. They just get a login. And the The thing that'll happen is once I see that they have SQL logins, then I will give them permissions to this desktop application that they'll be using. And that way, I don't have to do the thing where I call them and tell them we're going to set up their username and password in SQL Server, and then they would need to have some way of resetting their password after I do that, which usually involved no. Slipstream went down. Down detector? Is Slipstream down? Slip.stream. Arax, what are you working on? Do you have a public Git repo to see? On Fridays, we have a free open source solution project, and you can see that here. Yes. Which is the data import utility. And that is part of one of the applications that I work on for my work product. So I am doing client work during my regular stream. So today is a regular work day. I am getting paid for my time because I'm on the clock and I'm doing work for the client. But I have so many things to do that I don't know if we're going to do the data import utility or if we're going to just go ahead and do the updates to the applications so that they can use the new identity library that I was just talking about. So I want all of the applications to use that for the login UI and everything like that. And at the same time, I want to update them from whatever version of .NET they're on. Most of them are .NET 6 to .NET 8. Yeah, it is unusual. Someone else that just recently was able to is Thindle. Oops, I meant a real shout out for him. Um, Thindle is now able to stream his client project as well, which is awesome to see. So I wanted to like the original reason that I started streaming was because I've been a solo developer for a million billion years. And I really didn't have any other developers to talk with as I was working on the stuff that I was working on. So I developed my own practices and stuff, and I didn't really have anyone to bounce it off of. Whenever I would go to something like Stack Overflow, I would get berated for asking questions. You should never ask questions. It's just wrong of you to ask questions. At least don't ask them in the wrong way. Um, at least that's how it felt. I tried Gitter for a while. Um, and then, of course, looking around on Discord, which after getting burned on Stack Overflow, I just didn't want to talk in a public forum at all. That I I didn't at least have some say in code of conduct. And so yeah, so I started streaming to bounce ideas off of other developers, learn from other developers. Yeah, absolutely. So I am working for the Rocky Mountain National Wildlife Refuge. Rocky Mountain Wildlife Refuge, National Wildlife Refuge. So there are a couple of I spelled national wrong. There are a couple of refuges around this area. And so what the Rocky Mountain National Wildlife Refuge used to be is the Rocky Mountain Arsenal. And back in World War I, World War II era, they were manufacturing chemical weapons here that they thought they were going to need to use in the war. After a while, after making a lot of these chemical weapons, they never needed to use them, thankfully. However, the way that they disposed them was to break them down to their volatile and non-volatile chemicals um, as best they could. And then for the volatile chemicals, they buried them underground. So a lot of the places that you might see out here are caps and covers. So there are like patches of land that are called covers. That would be places where there's a bunker underneath where they used to put the vats with the volatile chemicals, thinking that in time the earth will process it and whatever. What ended up happening though is we had a massive environmental disaster, and I literally mean disaster. So there were animals being born with multiple heads, there were people getting illnesses, farms just completely, their crops dying off. And it was just a very, very bad environmental situation going on. So the EPA came in and was like, you guys need to clean all this mess up. Um, and so it became a Superfund site, and they spent a lot of money, a lot of time moving the contaminated soil, cleaning out the environment as best they could, putting in a whole bunch of wells so that we could sample from various locations across the arsenal, as well as water treatment plants. And what all of these things are for are, this is the Rocky Flats. I was all leaving it on that image. Um, all of that was successful. And so, in the process of doing that, the previous developers had established and wrote all of these applications that help with tracking the water, um, the chemical makeup. So, how much analyte is in water samples, soil samples, the air quality, all of that stuff. And then there's also applications for monitoring the vegetation in the area, the fauna. Um, and so now, once again, I'm coming back to now, like for what, the fifth time? Now, because of how good of a job they did with cleaning everything up and continuing to monitor, it was demilitarized. Part of the land was sold off to another company. That company was, again, doing a terrible job with disposing of their chemicals. They had a pesticide manufacturing factory here, and they were just dumping their waste into the local stream, which was also bad. So they got dinged and had to help with the cleanup effort. So that's all done. Um, and so now we just have this place that used to be a disaster, really bad environmental disaster, to now a wildlife refuge for things like the black-footed ferret, our mascot. For things like a whole bunch of buffalo, a million different types of deer, a million different. Well, of course, we're gonna always have rodents, um, which is kind of cool because we also get burrowing owls. And one of the things that burrowing owls do that I learned is that in the summer they're not nocturnal. So in the summer they like to um, come in and take over the prairie dogs' mounds. So they pretty much go in, kick the prairie dog out, and use it for the summer, where they have their babies, hatchlings, and then at around 11 to 1 is when they're most active. So if you go to the arsenal during that time in like June or July, you will most likely see some of these little really, really kawaii things learning to fly, hunting, all of that stuff. It's a really cool sight. Um, but yeah, so this is the place that I work. The applications that I work on range from. Are you going to let me in? Are you going to let me in? Range from a document repository. So this application here is for storing all of the documents, all of the official letters to different agencies, all of the reports, like the mandatory reports, the um, what's the word I'm looking for? Compliance reports that we need. So every document that we've ever generated since like 1960, probably a little earlier than that, has been scanned, OCR'd, and indexed and is now searchable. And the system to upload new documents and retrieve existing documents is DDMS, the Digital Document Management System. Um, Then EDTC is no longer an app. Hazard tracking is an application for employees at the Rocky Mountain National Wildlife Refuge to be able to report hazardous observations as well as other safety observations. So they could be positive or negative safety observations. We don't use lysimeters anymore. Those meters were broken anyway, and it was reporting incorrectly. The contract has been renewed, so we don't need the request for proposals. Chain of custody is the application where if we're collecting samples, this is the one that we use to log all of those samples, generates labels for us to generate a chain of custody document, log all of the samples that we're sending to the lab, and attach the labels to them. RMA Water shows all of our reports. It's how we get our charts. It's how we get our data reports that go into the official compliance reports. This is what we're working on now, the file import utility. And hi, TBD, by the way. Hello. Sorry. Shout out to TBD Gamer. TBD Gamer is also a .NET developer. He works on 2 projects. One is Liquid Sky that uses Angular front end and a .NET back end, and it's amazing. Just check out his stream and you'll love it. And then the other one is developers.stream, which he works on Mondays and Fridays. Oh, by the way, he streams Monday through Friday typically when he doesn't have other things going on at 7 a.m. Eastern time until 9 a.m. Eastern time, which is UTC -4 currently. Yeah. we did a jump forward. Okay, RTrack is the application where the lab has done all of their analyses on samples that we send them, and they log it into the system. We receive those logs, we make sure that the records are valid, and then my overlay still shows Thindle. Wow! So, Twitch Guru is broken. But yeah, I would, of course, promote Thindle. Thindle is a great streamer, a great developer, very knowledgeable. Do check out Thindle. um, which one of you guys is... Oh my gosh, which one of these is Twitch Guru? Okay, done. Very worth promoting. Also, TBD is very worth promoting. So where were we? RTrack. So that's the one where the lab reports their data, except that other labs don't do that, and we have a new way for other labs to report their lab results to us. Then there's STrack. This one is still a VB.NET WinForms application that needs to be integrated into one of these applications. The rest of them are web applications. Some of them used to be desktop applications that I have converted over to, like this one I converted to Blazor recently. But this one is still a VB.NET WinForms application using .NET Framework 4.7. But treatment plant upload used to be a standalone application, which is now in the water management application. No, none of these are open source since they're all client, except for the file import utility. This is the version that I have in my local library, in my work product library, but that's the one that I linked earlier. I will be updating that to match this one because the actual thing that I'm using is this lab data import service, which is a specific use case for that import utility. And I thought that the import utility would be useful enough for other people to want to use, to maybe contribute to make better. At least that's the hope. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But it would be nice if, you know. So I can actually show that app. I think you're helping us pick a direction to go. Oh, hey, this did load. Let's see if I can load all of the songs real quick. And we might have some chill music. And again, if you guys are completely okay with not having music today, I'll just leave the music off. Anything that makes the experience gooder. Actually, that would be a decent redeem, is for you to be able to decide when the music is on, when the music is off. You just click a button. And I could even make it anonymous so nobody knows who did the redemption. I don't want you feeling bad for feeling like you don't want to hear music at that point in time. Okay, so that's gonna play. All right. So here is a caveat that I'm going to use, or not use, but say. I was struggling with, like, we have so much to do with this library. It's really close to being done, and it's looking good or decent. I'm not going to say good because I'm not a UI designer. I am getting better at UI design and implementation. I am much better at implementing someone else's design. But so what I have done is what I talked about on Monday, and it may be a little controversial to some people. You're definitely welcome to voice your opinion. Just make sure you keep it as your opinion and don't try to force your own value system onto other people, because not everyone has the same value system, obviously. So just be respectful and mindful with your opinions. So that said, I did use Claude to help me with a portion that we started, I think in mid to late January, which was that we were trying to add this conditional value transformation. So let me show the application right now. So I asked Claude to help me with implementing the operators and the UI for it, and it gave me some pretty good results. I don't know if you've ever used Claude before. I don't know how you feel about Claude, but it's a pretty good tool if you're feeding it an entire project and asking it to help you with it, because it knows context, it'll stick with it for the most part. It still has its quirks. And if you do use it as a tool, you review all of the code that it generates and riff off of it essentially. I pretty much used it as my UI UX designer, but it did also generate some of this code. Why didn't you open? Friend? Speak friend. But yes, definitely welcome in, Carix. You are welcome to ask as many questions as you feel like. There may be times when I stop responding to questions for a while if I get focused and feel like I'm not getting enough work done. So as I mentioned before, I am on the clock and doing client work, so I want to make sure that I do honor them by not wasting their time. I do feel like I am quite a bit productive while I stream, because it helps me to feel like I need to produce something on stream. Otherwise, I just look like a freeloader kind of, and I don't want to look like that. So, are you running? Didn't I control F5? Oh, right, the solution wasn't actually open. So yeah, as you could tell, I like to be transparent. I don't want to hide behind anything and make it seem like I am smarter than I am, because I couldn't care less. I mean, I couldn't care less. Yeah, I think that's the right phrase. I couldn't care less whether or not I come off as knowledgeable. What I care about is coming off as someone who is interested in learning more, especially learning more from you guys. I hope that I come off as someone who does have something valuable to contribute to you. That may be why you're here, or that is entertaining in some way for you, that you get some value out of. But yeah, I also want to be honest and truthful and have integrity. I just ran through all that because I was just in testing mode. So this is the core import library. You can tell that it still has some weirdness, some weird issues, which usually are because of old files, especially after I've updated the branch that I was working on another computer and have recently pulled. I usually need to do a complete clean and rebuild, but hopefully that won't be the case today. Hopefully we're good. So this is the UI that I'm going to provide with the library you, developer, can use the library by yourself. The intent of this library is to take a structured document like an Excel file or a CSV. Those are the only two that I'm currently supporting with this version. I do plan on extending it to just any delimited file. And it's currently using Excel data reader to read the file. But the first thing it does is it takes the file that you provide, turns it into a data set, and data tables within that data set based on how many worksheets the Excel workbook has, or if it's just a CSV, then you get one data table back. If there's only one data table, it shows it immediately. So you have the contents. I know. One day I'll learn how to say data the way that you want me to, but it's just so much easier for me to say data. So this is the content of the Excel worksheet workbook. Well, I guess it is the worksheet in this workbook, but here are the contents for it. And the goal is to turn the imported data into dataism into some C# structure that you, the developer, define. So this is essentially an ETL tool with only the ET parts. You can write the L part yourself, which is what I'm doing in the lab data import utility. So the lab data import utility is there because, like I said before, we have that R-track system. Oh no, I forgot to load the model. So many things to do. Why does it all have to be so much extra? Cancel. What did I push? Okay, so we have a data joke. I used to have a job at a calendar factory, but I got the sack because I took a couple of days off. I'm just disappointed. I want to say that I don't get it. I want it to just have gone over my head. I wish it did for me, President Notcher. Actually, I wish I never saw that joke. Anyway, BestBot says, a police officer caught 2 kids playing with a firework in a car battery. You're repeating yourself, Dukabot. He charged one and let the other off. But now you can talk to automated RUMs. It should be loaded. Should be running. And the archery game works. Woohoo! Shoot. 0.590. 0.5100. Dang. 0.48. Only a 70. Anyway, I told you what dataism is. Is it lewd? It's an art movement that began in Zurich, Switzerland during World War I, and the early 1920s. It was characterized by a rebellion against traditional artistic values and use of nonsensical and irrational elements. Data artists sought to provoke and challenge societal norms and conventional ideas of art. Art. Yeah, that's what I was referring to, the art movement. Oh, President Notcher. Okay, so if you are wanting to transform data coming in, see, now I'm saying data for you. Let me correct myself. Proceeds to repeat the same thing. AI is good at that, isn't it? And this LLM in particular is just like, I have the temperature set high enough that it's just going to be predictable. Yeah. Oh, you're right. I see where I made the error. This is what I get from Claude and ChatGPT a lot. I see where I made the error. Let me fix that in the file, and then it gives you the same code back. It's non-confrontational. It's never going to say, you're off. Did it? It said it again. Same thing. Okay. When you are importing data to transform it from whatever's being imported to your database expected model, for example, or something that you can use in your application, you typically want to transform the data or map it from the incoming fields to your database field. So here's the model that the database is expecting. Or again, this has nothing to do with the database at this point. This is just the library for you to be able to do stuff like get a list of C# objects back from an imported file. But one of the things that you can do though is transform the value of the field that you are using as you are mapping it. So you map from this lab sample ID field to this destination field called lab sample ID. So this is the incoming, this is the destination. And while you do it, you say, I want to extract only the numerical values because this is my go-to example. And then I want to combine them in a different order using this syntax that the application is expecting. And I do want to eventually make it to where there's a GUI for this that you will be able to interact with more instead of having to know the $ syntax and what interpolate really means. But as a developer, chances are you're going to know, but the user using the application isn't really going to understand what interpolate. Is that like extrapolating? So point is you have an incoming value. We get to see what happens to it throughout the entire transformation pipeline. You can see every single distinct value that's in the provided file and how it gets transformed. If there are any errors that happen, so let's say that we want to substring an array, then it says there's an error for every single one of them. And the error is you cannot substring an array. So the first thing you do is interpolate it, then you can substring, then you can do math on it, etc. All right, thank you so much, TBD. Hopefully I escaped this side of 5 p.m. Good luck. Best of luck. So point is that we're seeing this, the transformation happening at each step, as well as you are able to choose all of these things. So again, just to caveat all of this, everything that exists in the application was designed and developed by us, mostly on stream. The only times AI would have come into play is, yeah, no, most of this was just Google searching. However, we started on this conditional value transformation. I scaffolded it out. I decided on the structure. I decided I wanted this comparison operation to be a thing, and a comparison operation is the between, greater than, less than, etc. As well as the mapping, not the mapping rule, the value transformation for conditional transformation, which again, we wrote. The way that I used to have it written though was an inline if, and I realize how unreadable inline ifs are in this case especially. It used to look like this. You're gonna love this. Oh, oh. Oh, no, that's a lie. Okay, so I was just about to lie. The other place that AI came into play was that I am using Copilot. So I am accepting suggestions from Copilot, but I am reviewing those suggestions as much as I can. And then I forget to at times and then run into bugs and I'm like, why is this broken? Anyway, this is what I used to have. And while it was setting up the conditional UI, the conditional value transformation UI, it pretty much just expanded it so that I'm using, and you can even tell because I don't use explicit types when I'm doing stuff like this, because we know what the type on this is going to be. So, and in fact, the only difference that I would make to this is because we're only using this once, I'm just going to put it directly in the if. So we evaluate the expression in the comparison operation, which is we just evaluate the comparison operation that has a left operand and a right operand. And then if it evaluates to true, then we perform the true. If it evaluates to false, then we perform the false mapping. Easy, right? How do we visualize this to the user? And I struggled for a long time on that. Oh, and the very last thing that we did was we implemented equals. We implemented, I think, greater than and less than, and greater than or equal to and less than or equal to, and maybe is true is false. So we already did the implementation for a lot of these comparison operation bases, not even a lot, a handful of these comparison operation bases. Then we moved on to something else because something else came up and we focused on doing that. We got that done. I can't really remember what all those things were. Something to do with, oh man, go back and see the streams and you'll see the ones that we had to stop working on this for. So anyway, so then I was like, hey Claude, please help me. I need some UI for this conditional operation stuff. While you do that, I will implement the rest of the comparison operators. Just imagine that they all work. And what it did is it came up with a UI design for me, and then it wrote the actual Blazor components, updated the existing Blazor components, and this is what we have for the conditional UI, for the UI that we're going to use for the conditional mapping or value transformation operation. This is going to be really hard to keep track of. This screen here is the field mapper editor. You choose the mapping rule. So these are mapping rules. These are the actual rules. This is the field that we will be transforming. Therefore, the thing that goes in here is a field transformation. So the entire thing here is called a field transformation, and each individual step is a value transformation. So now we have a field transformation and a value transformation. And in the conditional value transformation stuff, I can't even call it a rule. There are these conditional operations. So now we have mapping rule, field transformation, value transformation, conditional operation. So it's hard for me to keep a track because I used to call these operations. These were value operations, but now they are value transformations, and these are conditional operations, and it's just a little confusing. Just a little confusing now. So anyway, I came up with this really cool UI, and we can see stuff happening like we can compare and follow the different paths. We'll put true for this one, false for this one, and we see that the lab sample ID field does not equal W. But if we tell it we want it to equal 280 dash blah 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 blah, then for this case it's true, right? But for other cases, for example, let's get rid of this interpolate rule. For other cases, it does not match. So those are evaluating to false correctly. However, what's supposed to happen is that the left value is its own mapping rule with its own field, with its own transformations and everything like that get applied individually. Oh, let me do this one real quick because this one works as well. Does W equal this number? And the answer is no, it does not. Does W equal W? And the answer is yes, it does. However, here's where the weirdness happens. I want to choose a different field than the one that I chose for this mapping. So right now I'm choosing lab sample ID for copy value from, and I want to choose a different field for the left operand. And I want that field to be the matrix, for example. And matrix has values like water, like soil, like air. In this case, it only has water. And what I want to do before we evaluate the value that comes out of this is map water to W, soil to S, which I think I put an extra space, and air to A. And so the value that we should be evaluating is W. However, if we look here, we'll see the matrix with its transformations output value equals this constant value of W is false. And it's because it's always using the field value or the field that we picked on that previous screen. So if I pick this one, then it's saying this value goes into the copy value rule on the left side, and the right side gets the constant value. Hello, Thindle, we were just talking good things about you. And it evaluates that, and what it comes out with is that 280-197783-10 does not equal W, therefore false is what you get back. And it's like, that's not what we're trying to do. So I had a long think about this. Hearts, I think, definitely hearts. Especially Zelda love. I had a really long think about this, and I was like, this entire system for how to configure mapping rules is a little wrong. There's something missing from it. And then I realized what it was. Initially, I was like, if you're going to do copy value, you should be able to select no field and then configure the rule for whatever fields are involved, combining the field. Like, we even have this combined fields rule that needs to be fleshed out and the UI written for it. The actual rule itself does work. We have tests for it and everything. But we would need the actual UI fleshed out for being able to do this. And we do have UI for it. If you choose combined fields here, then you choose the field, edit that field, add another field, edit that field, if you even have edits for the field, and then you put them together. 0 dash. Oh, I can't type today. And this works. However, we're still dependent on selecting a field on this screen when maybe you're doing a copy value and the only thing that you want to do is a conditional based off of other fields, nothing to do with the field that you selected. So what I started working on this morning is a custom mapping rule. So when you select custom, you will click on configure, then you'll be taken to this window with no field, or output field is correct, but no field. Problem is, and there are two issues, and hello each of the 2iPi. Shout out to E to the 2iPi. Each of the 2iPi is the channel you are shouting out does not exist. Did I spell your name wrong? There's no way I spelled your name wrong. I just pinned Thindle's message. Yes. We're keeping it. That was an accident. E to the 2. Oh, shout out. I put shout out to E to the 2iPi, like the word to. That's funny. That's funny. Go me. Okay. Anyway, shout out to each of the 2iPi. He is a fantastic I'm going to call you instructor. Is that okay? Instructor. He is great at all the things knowledge. He can answer questions. He holds study sessions for a million billion different things that I don't understand. And he's also, if I recall correctly, a talented developer. I'm so good at this. He's a mathematician who likes trivia and Nintendo. There you go. He's Zach. He games on occasion. Anyway, check out his streams. I'm almost always there lurking when I see him go live. It's just I'm rarely active. Shout out E to the 2 I pie. I can't even separate out the 2's for that. I am sweating now. I feel embarrassed for something. Probably for the use of Claude and telling people that I'm using Claude. It kind of cheapens the experience hearing that a professional developer is using AI like Claude in their client application. Because I think there's such a stigma around using AI as a tool like that. Because it's like, there's so many people out there already that are just taking whatever AI spits out and making an app like that and then selling it and making money off of it. But I don't know how to fix the stigma around it and my own weird feelings about it. Nice. So Tyron is like, I'm thinking his name is imaginary, and he's like, that's my cousin. E to the pi over, or E to the I pi over 2. Gosh, that was hard to say. Or your other distant cousin, E to the negative 2i pi. True. Okay, so anyway, what I was thinking about this morning is making this custom mapping type. So I guess we're going to go through the rest of that together. That's the direction that we're heading. And that would be here. So I'm going to close out of everything else. And we will continue from there. So I called it custom field list rule. I couldn't come up with a better name, but it's like you really aren't going to start with a field. You're just going to make a custom rule that can have any number of fields associated with it. And not in a way that combine fields does. Like, let's say that you're only using the conditional transformation type and you're choosing only constant values for whatever reason. I don't know, like what I see this being used for is that the user would want to be like, if the result, oh my gosh, where in the world is result? If the result is equal to ND, then we output true, actually, in this case. Or no, it would be LT, constant value, LT. Else, if. So this would be another custom rule that we click on and we are give me a second on that, Tyron, and I'll respond to it. I can't not respond to it. Do you think it's a good idea to sort the field names as opposed to leave them in the import order that they appear in the table? Because my thinking was they would have the table showing over here and know the order of the fields. If so, it's an easy change. I'd be happy to change it. It makes sense to me to sort them, but it also made sense to me to leave them in the order that they came in. Okay, so let's say that in the else case, they wanted to do another conditional. So they now are in this false mapping for that, and they're going to do else if, and this is going to be another conditional rule, else if the result, and this one is hard. This is one that they actually would want to be able to do. Else if the result is less than 10, for example. If it's less than 10, then just copy the value of result. Else if, so you can see where this is already starting to get pretty deep in there. Else if the result is less than 100 would be another one. And so this is one that I would need to really think about. How do we make a rule that they could write like a switch statement, for example? Could we write a switch transformation step for the pipeline? So if it's less than 100, a 100, then we want to take the value of result and divide it by, calculate. So we take the value of the result and divide it by 10, so that we are always in the tens place. That's the only thing that this cares about, and we can have unlimited decimal places. So that's what we care about. And we are going to get erroneous things like this in this step, but when we go up, we know that we will never reach this step if we were already less than 10. Oh my gosh, where did that accent come from? Less than 10. But then we would do this all the way up to, like, I don't know, I think they said 10 million was the highest measurement taken in any of these samples, depending on the analysis method and the analyte itself, and blah 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 blah. So they would just keep building up this rule until they have pretty much, we've covered all the cases from the tens place to the 10 millionth place, and we make sure that they are all narrowed down to the tens place, and then they rewrite this exact same rule for the exponent, because like e to the 2i pi's name, what they do is they take the value that they get and then they bring it to the tens place and then put the exponent times 10 to the x in the exponent column. So this is 1 times 10 to the 0. This is 1 times, I saw 1 in there somewhere. This is 2 times 10 to the 1, which is going to be 20. So for now, what he's doing is in the spreadsheet, he is manually splitting up the dilution factor using a formula, for example, or the result itself, which is the mantissa and the mantissa exponent, or the corrected value, or the uncorrected value, or the QC spike. So all of those things he's doing in formulas in the spreadsheet before importing it. And that's how we're tackling that for now. But if we had a way to do that as a mapping rule, that would be cool. Okay, so Tyrant says, for big dropdowns, I would sort. Why? You know you want results, so you open and press R and it takes you to the R area. But if they aren't supported, it just bounces all over true. But that's just me. No, I think you're right. I wholly agree with that. I didn't think about it too hard when I made the decision to just use the values as is. And it's a really easy fix. So that is going to be in 2 places. It's going to be in the field, what do you call it? Field transformation configuration. Value transformation, no, field mapper editor, sir. It's going to be in the field mapper editor. And there is a render fragment called field picker. So we're just going to It's an immutable array. So coming in, when you're set, who is actually setting you? Who, pray tell, is setting you? You would be field mapper editor is being used by data file import. I said data file mapper. And data set display, data table display, field mapper flyout. Okay, so the field mapper flyout is going to be here, and you're going to be an immutable array. So, man, I wanted to do this somewhere else so that it wouldn't do this every time. Is it just called name? Oh, right. And now that I have that, it's totally angry at me. If you couldn't tell, I prefer not to use quotation marks around my parameter assignments. But in this case, I think because we have the parentheses dot, it doesn't treat this entire statement as a C# statement. It stops here, is kind of what it seemed like. Okay, so this makes it so that the fields are only alphabetized when they're in the field mapper dropdowns. Just like that. And then that should also affect, because those same ones are getting sent through to the child components as well. So these are also alphabetically sorted. So that didn't take very much effort at all. Steady. Alphabetized field picker values. Super easy, and this isn't a real change, so you go away. And we're working in this. Okay, so that's where we're at. Hello, Napalm. So thank you, Tyron. Again, if it ever sounds like I am being angry or rude, I really don't mean to. I am trying to attenuate my voice when I am talking technical, but it usually ends up just coming out bluntly. I really appreciate your feedback on, or your thoughts on that. Since you had thoughts, you voiced them, and I considered them. Had I not agreed with those thoughts, I would have just said, I'm going to leave it as is. But I did agree with them, since I was on the fence anyway. So thank you. Okay, what else do we have? So the thing that I'm trying to fix, though, right now, is that the conditional rule will always use the field. Oh yeah, okay, so we're stepping way back. So the conditional rule depends on the field that you pick here, because it's being a copy mapping rule or a combined fields mapping rule, let's say, but it's still a conditional transformation. I called it a rule earlier. Conditional transformation that doesn't care about the field that you picked as the incoming field. It cares about the left operand and the right operand that you picked. Which also means, right, and I said it was twofold earlier. The second part of this is not only is it using only the field that we selected in the mapping editor, but also the output here is outputting only the distinct values for this field, as opposed to, because we're now considering multiple fields when doing this evaluation, each row would need to be represented here so that we know what the pipeline looks like in each step. So I have a few options, obviously, as you always do, or always do, as you tend to. One option is that I never show the outputs, the output previews, when we are doing a custom rule that has the conditional operation. The second option is to only show every row with every value involved, which would take a lot. are you doing? Hope you're having a great day so far. Welcome in. Oh. I didn't need those ears. Oh. Hi. Thank you for the boost. We now have the energy needed to make it through this. So it would take a lot of effort, I think, to represent all of the fields for the given row that are involved in this evaluation statement. Or would it? It was for the sleepy ones. Yeah, but this stream is all about the chill, and if I help you fall asleep, awesome. I hope you get some restful sleep. But also, I appreciated the wake up. One day I will remove it when I get fed up with it, but I haven't gotten fed up enough to remove it yet. It's still there, which means it's usable. Please don't abuse it, but if you do, it's what you do. You didn't abuse it, by the way. I'm not talking to you, APOC. You only used it the one. To say hello, and hello back. Oh boy. And am I awake now? I think one was talking slower, softer, like, okay, come closer. Whisper, explain. And then the yeah happened. I was doing it on purpose. Of course I was. Actually, you know what? My mic gain is a lot lower than usual. So you can turn me down a little bit. I'm going to make sure that my mic gain is set to normal. Windows has been controlling the output a lot more than it should. Input devices. Input devices. Input devices. You there. Like, it does this on TBD's stream too. He'll be talking, it'll be fine, and then he'll do something like type a key a little bit louder than he usually does, or accidentally bump his mic, and then Windows will set the volume all the way down. And then it'll stay down for the rest of the stream. Hello, Bob Ross. Comment allez-vous? So yeah, I turned up the gain so that it's the volume levels are where they normally are, which is just below red for me. And I have set the sound alerts to be just a little quieter. In that way, I'm the only one that has to hear the yah super duper loud, and you guys just hear it loud. That's the point. Okay, so what I think I was saying is I'm working on making it so that there is no field associated with this, and I'm starting to lean towards the just show all of the fields that are involved in the transformation, and if there's only one field involved, only show the unique values. Otherwise, we can distinct by all of the values for that row. And that way we're still not showing the entire data set. I mean, it's highly possible and more likely that we will be showing the entire data set if we do that. No, it's not. There are a lot of repeat values. So the places that I see it happening are in dilution factor, and there's only two things that it cares about. The one that brought me to this was that the user was like, I want to be able to say if the result is ND or the flag is J. I guessed. So if the result is ND or the flag is J, then we want the Boolean to be LT. Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, we want the value to be the number moved to the tens place times 10 to the number of places that you moved. So Bob Ross is saying, by the way, I'm about to head out to walk my dog, but I'll be back shortly. I'll keep the stream open in the background, but how's everyone doing? Bob Ross asks. Awesome. Thank you so much for the lurk, though, and for keeping the window open. I really appreciate it. I do. Okay, so again, these are all just, like, I have 1,000 thoughts always running through, and then sometimes I lose track of them, but most of the time I'm able to keep track of them. One of the things that I also want to do with this, what did I call it? Custom fieldless transformation. Did I change branches? It's a rule. Custom fieldless rule is that the only time that you can use the conditional transformation is if you're using the custom fieldless rule. Or what? If you are using the copy rule and you choose conditional, how does this sound? Anyone that happens to be listening, if you're not listening, totally okay. Or if you just don't feel like responding, totally okay. If you use the copy rule and you choose the conditional value transformation type, and you are actually choosing a mapping rule for the left operand, and you know what I mean by left operand and right operand. If left operand, operator, right operand, then true branch, else false branch. So if you choose a mapping rule that is not custom or constant value, and in fact, I would hide combined fields. So you would only have constant value, copy value, and custom. So if you choose one of these, if you choose copy is what I'm trying to say. Why am I saying it in the negative way? If you choose copy, then it will be locked to the field that you chose here. Otherwise, you would have chosen custom. And that way, the conditional value transformation is always available. But I'm still going to have to hide something at some point in time. You can't use the combined fields rule when you're doing a mapping. That one is easy. Let me do... Well, no, that's not easy. Because that would only be the case if you were doing a custom. Otherwise, you would do a combined fields, choose your fields, which I need to pull over the UI from that. Choose your fields, their mappings, and then how you're combining them together. There's still so much to this. My brains. Oh, I will keep track of this. Let's just take one step at a time. Let's get the custom rule UI set up. What I really want is just a button here that says configure. We can at least do that. So that would be, again, here in the field mapping, field transformation configuration. I think this is the thing that has the row of, or is this the actual dialogue? This is the dialogue. Field mapper editor, base. You have the switch here that tells us what to put in that column if you pick. I've got it. 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 I've got it And this was going to be the next rule because alphabetically. Why am I stuffing you in a curly brace? Am I using mapping rule variable elsewhere? No. I don't know why I'm stuffing these in curly braces when I don't have anything that's really scoped to the cases. But consistency, and this is not consistent. If I wanted to truly be consistent, I would have wrapped you. It just increases the indent. It's so not necessary. Okay, the custom mapping rule, let's just do for now a div. We're going to use essentially what we have for the constant value, not constant value, the we're going to steal this div and button is what I'm saying. So we have a div. I was about to use Zen coding, but I realized I was in a C# block, so you can't type what. No, div class. I have none. Whatever this was named. The other one was called combined fields wrapper. This one is going to be called custom rule wrapper. And a button. Okay. The button, bless you. My panda sneezed. The button will say configure. We should be able to see this now. Good. Oh, that looks perfect. That's exactly how I want. There we go. And that is going to run. So I need a custom handler for this. And the reason I need the custom handler for this is because if I only use the handle edit, I believe that is expecting the field transformation that we are trying to edit. That is in the render picker. Her field, source field transformation. Yeah. Hello, Zipposaurus. I almost botched your name entirely. How are you doing on this fantastic Wednesday? Oh, please forgive me for that. You're in a loop for fields. Yeah, so we at least need to send the current field for sure. And we need to handle, nope, not you. Try here. Handle. This word is looking so weird right now. Handle. Yes, that is handle. You're fine. You can just say zip if you wish. Abbreviating my name is fine. Awesome. Well, I really do like your name as is, but I will call you Zip. Let me just make a note that I am going to probably forget. Zipposaurus. Just Zip. Got it. That's the only piece of information I'm keeping on you. If you don't want me to have that written down, I will delete it. Just let me know. Handle, custom, configure, custom. Clicked. Okay. So now we're going to go to the code behind and create a handler where all the other handlers are. I'm making them all protected virtual. Why am I doing that? Because this is a base class. My name is unused on any platforms, and I'm so fond of this name that I paid someone on Twitter 10 GBP. I think that's just a pound. Great British pounds. 10 sterling. 10. I don't know monetary stuff for the Twitch handle, plus an extra 20 changing game account names like Xbox to this name. Wow. Well, I mean, that's definitely yes, so it is sterling, huh, which is Great British pounds. I do know a thing. I don't think this needs to be a task. What am I doing? Field mapping. Is this really what I want to do? So edit field transform. And then field transform is going to be a new field transformation, definitely. The problem is that we now don't have a field name. And is that okay? Is that something we can do? So yeah, as I mentioned before, this is what I predominantly have been using AI for, is mostly documenting the code. And then as you just saw, ChatGPT gave me, or I keep saying ChatGPT, it's just Copilot, which is pretty much ChatGPT, but Copilot gave me some code suggestions. I read through it. I'm asking questions and just trying to determine whether these things are actually needed. Because what's going to happen is that we don't get a target field name in our field. Oh yeah, we do. We get a target field name. What am I thinking? Oh my gosh, I've forgotten how to life. Zip says, so much so that I've bought out a domain and used GitHub Pages to host my websites, trying to figure out how I can add some cool gallery to it. Awesome. Very cool stuff. Yeah. Blazer Mr. Ragu says, same here. It is great for things like documenting it and also generating sample data. Absolutely. And I mean, I will let it write code for me. I just want to make sure that I read everything that it writes, which I often fail to do on stream because I'm usually distracting myself. But I promise I look through the lines of code that it writes for me. I don't just blindly accept it, except on stream. I'm ashamed. Uh-oh, sneeze. The thing about turning away to sneeze is that I'm also twisting my back in a weird angle. And sneezes are pretty violent on the body. So that kind of caused a little twinge. I blindly accept code, then I check what it has done. If I don't, like it, I'll roll back. I thought I was only gonna, I was gonna get away with just one. Yeah. And like, because I keep talking about it, I'm making it sound like I want someone to tell me it's okay to do, because I kind of do. But at the same time, it's like, I'm gonna do what works for me regardless, not to dismiss anyone's opinion about it. But yeah, I just don't want to be viewed as a bad person. That's all it comes down to. It's easier to accept all changes at once than review them like a PR. Well, yeah, I mean, that is the thing. So it's not often that I will do the Copilot chat and say implement blah, 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 and then accept it, pull it into the inline, and then verify it that way. I just let it do code blocks or single lines pretty easily, or pretty regularly. And in that way, I'm reviewing it line by line or block by block. Zip says, I'm a complete novice when it comes to coding in general, trying to learn C# and HTML. There's also JavaScript needed, and my level of understanding is that of console.writeline hello world. That's completely okay. my preferred approach is a curious, explorative, kind of playful approach. Even though you see me getting like super frustrated on stream at code, at my own ability slash inability to code, it's always, almost always, a ton of fun for me. It may not look like it as I'm struggling through things, but I'm having a blast. The learning process, the achieving things, the getting stuck on things, it's all just fun. Okay, this does make sense though. We're setting our current edit transformation options to be a new field mapping or the field mapping that is that row. So a field mapping is specifically in our UI if we're looking at it. This entire row here is a field mapping because it is something that I'm doing to map some incoming value or some custom operation to this destination field. And that's why I'm calling it a field mapping. So that's what that is. It's giving us the field that we are targeting. That field mapping itself will be the thing that contains the mapping rule that we're going to set up. The problem is that there are these source field transformations in the field mapping, in the mapping rule, that is going to determine, yeah, that's where it sucks. That's going to determine which fields are being used for this rule. Thank you so much for the follow. Really just stripping out my free time here. Oh wait, I totally missed a thing. The issue being, I'm learning so many things at the moment, including languages such as Japanese, whilst focusing on my college course, which is games design, requiring C#. Totally understand that. When I went to university, I let's say the later years of university when I got my stuff together, I was definitely doing that though. I was trying to take on a lot more, learn everything that I could all at the same time. It was when I realized that, and this is true for me, it might not be true for you, but maybe it'll be helpful for you. When I realized that after university, because during university, you kind of have to learn all the things all the time so that you can pass your classes, which I really don't like that. After university, you can realize that if you just focus on one thing at a time, improve your JavaScript skills enough that you're comfortable reading JavaScript code and you can do some vanilla JavaScripting if you need to. Understand HTML structure next or before that or whatever order, but it's just one thing at a time. And then you get to understand that a lot better first before moving on to the next thing, that it became a lot more, I felt more proficient in the overall software development field. Japanese, I tried to learn as well, the wrong way, of course. And I wasn't able to. Like, I picked up a whole bunch of random words that I could point out and say given certain situations, but I don't have any conversational Japanese other than hajimemashite. Watashi wa Kurusumbat no moshimasu. That's it. Toire wa doko desu ka? Those small things. And my favorite one that stuck with me for whatever reason is endo shinaide. And it's like, it's when they said it during the I was using instant immersion to try to learn. It always sounded like a creeper saying it. Like, you go out to a bar, you're tipsy, and you're talking to some female, and they're being kind of standoffish, and you're just like, oh, come on, don't be shy. It's like, ugh, that just gives me creeper feelings. And so it stuck out. But yeah, my recommendation is if you can stand to do it, try to take things one thing at a time as opposed to try to do all the things all at once. Choose a specialization, like the C# language by itself only. I chose Blazor. I chose ASP.NET, and then specifically within ASP, or hold on, the progression went, I chose databases, then I chose web applications as the thing that I wanted to do in a professional capacity. I wanted to improve, modernize, update web applications. I chose the technology of .NET eventually. So I focused down now on .NET, and specifically within .NET MVC. At the time it was with VB.NET, but I changed over to C# finally after getting rid of my fears around C#. And I love C#, absolutely love using C#. So then I focused on the C# language itself. And then that helped me to improve my web application development. Then I focused on the newer technology coming out, Blazor. And I learned everything that I could about that. Did a whole bunch of tutorials, did a whole bunch of applications in Blazor, and really enjoyed that. And I'm still enjoying it. I'm still learning C#, I'm still learning Blazor, but I am a lot more comfortable with using the technologies. I hope that helps. I hope it's not just like sounding preachy or like you need to do it this way. It's definitely something that I would not be offended if you're like, that doesn't work for me. I want you to be successful with what you do the way you do it and encourage you. Okay, where are we? We got the button. Let's test out the button because we have a button. We push the button, nothing happens. Probably, no, I don't know why. Did I save? I saved. Probably because it just threw an exception. Did I check to see? No, there are no exceptions. I would have assumed that it gave me an exception because of... Oh, yes. It stopped running at some point. See? No longer running. But my guess is that it's going to give us an exception when we push the configure button because it's going to open up and then immediately run the apply methods for the mapping rule. And the problem is that the mapping rule is not implemented yet. However, I want to verify just to make sure that I know the process that this application goes through when you do stuff. Okay, Ziposaurus says, learning Japanese for me is easier than others as I have the thanks of having Japanese friends. That's very nice. I had no one. I only had this audio tape that I listened to. Audio tape. It was a CD. Listened to on my way to work and back home from work. It was like an hour drive both ways through traffic. And so a lot of the Japanese I ended up picking up was foul language. Even though that wasn't in the CD or anything, it was just easier to say. But that's really cool that you do have that experience of being able to talk with people that kind of will put you in that environment of let's have conversational Japanese conversations. Anyway, so thanks to having Japanese friends I talked to for hours on end via VR chat. Never touched things like Duolingo. I did try Duolingo to at least learn some hiragana. Bad idea. Bad idea. Never touched things like Duolingo. The original reason to learn Japanese, unlike some, was to become an no I can't remember. Anyway, Nihon no Tenkosei. So a transfer student. Which the word that I learned was, oh, I can't even remember the word that the CD taught me for transfer student. But anyway, unfortunately, after realizing how much I'd be leaving in the UK, practically ikasaing myself, Plus the expenses, I decided otherwise. Still plan to potentially live there or travel there for a good few months. My original intent for learning Japanese was, like many others, being able to watch anime subbed, I guess, like being able to watch anime in its native tongue without subtitles. So not even subbed, just watching anime without needing subtitles in Japanese. Because I do a lot of other things at the same time. I don't really watch shows very often. Um, and when I do consume visual media, it's usually alongside doing something else like programming. Most of the people that I lurk on their channel, I am almost always lurking on their channel. Every now and then I'll pick up on something that they'll say, and then I'll keep programming, especially since I'm on my workday. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Doesn't matter. Gai Gokujin? Gai Gokujin. Daigokujin. I think it was Daigokujin. I would love to get Japanese untranslated mangas. Read a book backwards is and reading a book backwards is interesting, but it's in English. Not that I know any kanji besides guts. The writing system is definitely going to be the hardest part for me. Like I had hiragana charts that I was practice or whatever they're called that I was practicing on every day, like at the same time as doing the CD. It was like a 4-part CD series. Um, I was also practicing hiragana and katakana, but I didn't even get into touching kanji at all. Not even close. And I like it's been such a long time that I couldn't even recognize ni as ni. I always think that it's e. And e is that. Or I guess this for you. Whatever. Oh. The other thing that I was well, yeah, that's the other thing. So I was doing like you a thousand things at the same time. I was doing Japanese and I was trying to learn how to improve my ability to do sketching, like actual art type of sketching. I didn't even care about doing colorful art. I didn't care about making it all fleshed out. I just wanted to be able to sketch out something that I had in mind, and that didn't work either. Do I still have a deviant art? Oh, I'm taking a detour. What am I doing to myself? No. This browser maybe? Are we logged in here? Did you save my password for this? Yep, you did. Is it the right password? Okay. Oh, great. Great. Thank goodness I didn't have this on screen yet. The recommendations they give you. I haven't signed into DeviantArt in forever, and it looks a little different, especially with the first image being racy, we'll say. Now I can't even find where my deviants are. My it's called Studio now. It's called Studio. No, where are my actual photos now? Oh, just click on my name. Okay, so this is what I did back in the day. These are the types of things that I was trying to mess with, and you can tell, very very amateur, very bleh. especially compared to Ron. Ron is insane. I miss Ron. I wonder where he is. He became a cop. Weird kid. Man, this is weird. Timeline changes, man. Anyway, point is, this is what I was trying to do at the same time as learning Japanese, including learning how to read and write, at least hiragana and katakana. Do you say when the last time I signed in was? Probably 2011. Anyway, good times, good times. Well, Zip says, well, the original belief for me was that I need to pass the Japanese test to actually apply for university. Turns out this isn't quite true. Depends what your course is that you're trying to take. Right. And that was the other thing that I meant to say. Not only did I want to learn it to be able to watch anime in its native language, but it was also because I planned on eventually moving and living there because the culture, from what I have understood about it, my wife used to live there as well. Um, from what I understand about it, is very in line with my culture, my preferred people that I would want to be around, environment that I would want to be around, and yeah. But I chickened out because of tsunamis and the potential for bad internet. And that's about it. Oh, and also, you know, other threats. But that's just me. Okay, are we trying this again? That's what I'm trying to do. We're trying this again. Custom, configure. Cool, it did open. We did not receive any exceptions. Wow, nothing. No errors. Godzilla, Gojira. Is that how much Japanese you know? Hello, Steve? Siv? Sisva? Do you have a preferred pronunciation of your name? And every time I say Gojira, I think of the spell. My nickname is easiest. It's pronounced Bob. I will call you Bob if I remember. No guarantees I'll remember, but I'm writing it down. If you don't want me to write down that you have a preference to be called Bob, I will erase it from my notes. But that's the only piece of information I'm keeping from you about you. Okay. Okay. The thing that I'm expecting to eventually fail is evaluating these statements. Because, like, it's coming with null in, which is not going to be a. Yeah, so we definitely know it's not using these fields. So that's going to be the next thing I need to tackle. But the point is, I did set up the configure source. The other thing that I need to do is the apply method. Why aren't you giving me exceptions when apply should be throwing not implemented exceptions? This is very odd. Zap says, whilst the culture is peaceful, it's really lively, at least from the conversations I've had. The last conversation I had today at 3 a.m. was with a Japanese friend who watched American comedy streamers, and we were talking about words, often really bad ones. Turns out Twitch translation is really bad, as she was saying morning tree when she meant morning would. The conversation was unhinged. Man, do I want to fix this UI too? Ignore the UI for now if you can. It looks better in the actual lab data import where I've taken the time to make sure that the two tables line up so that they scroll, the scrolls synchronize the way that they're supposed to. Oh, it doesn't take that much work. We can at least get it closer by simply telling our tables, table rows, and table heads to be white space, no wrap. I always do that backwards. I mean, it goes grow on its own. I shall start calling it morning tree from now on. Okay, so that makes those white space no wrap. Same thing with the table body, TR defaults, white space no wrap, which should make the rows collapse into straight lines like so. Then the other thing was the first header in this table. I made a fixed height and then everything else should be good from there. So if I make the first row of T head here, first of type, be height of 3 characters? Do the thing. Do the thing. T head, TR, first of type, height 3. Is that actually 3 characters? Is that what's going on? Aha. Okay, so let's go with 8 characters. Yeah, and now you can see that the two tables are synchronized and all that fun stuff. Yes, we can allow this. So annoying. Um Okay. So Napalm says so annoying. And hopefully that so annoying was to the thingy, or is it just this? Renovate is finicky, trying to get all NuGet updates on a single pull request, and if you have staggered updates that come in over the day, it updates the first MR versus creating a new one. So annoying. I don't know what any of that means. Oh yeah, you told me this. Merge request versus pull request. You told me this before. Why does it keep doing this? I keep telling it to allow it. I've added so many variants of NuGet to the allowed words and phrases. Just keep using them and I'll keep adding them every single time you use it. We all know what NuGet is. Okay, why though? Why is custom fieldless rule? Oh, because is empty is happening. So the first thing that it does is it checks to see if empty. If it's empty, then we don't execute the rule. We ignore it. Hmm. So what I kind of need to do is if we're using the custom fieldless rule, we need to create a default source field Do we? We need to assign the source fields when we're updating the mapping transformation. The field mapping. Oh, it's so confusing. What am I supposed to do? Okay, so here's what we're seeing. Oh, right. I wanted to do this small change. So all of you are getting updated because I updated the table mixin. So all of the CSS and min.css got regenerated using the new mixin. Updated table styling. No. Why do I do that so often lately? I've usually been pretty decent at staging the changes I'm intending to stage. But what I just did was I selected the files so that I could get them ready to stage, and then I didn't stage them. Updated table styling. There we go. Goodness me. What I am doing. All right. Think. Oh, bother. Isn't there a base apply? Don't we have a no, it's abstract. Son of a. Processing. Please wait. Yeah, Slipstream keeps crashing. I don't know what you're doing. Friend of the Dark Forest. Okay, here's our process. Zip says, I've come to the realization on why I stopped commissioning myself to people. The frustration that comes with projects. From the base, this project looks small and simple, but now that I've gotten into it, saying it's the complete opposite could be an understatement somehow. Yeah, and that's like for this one, what happened was in October, the client, or in September, late September, the client was like, so we're going to start receiving files from the different labs. They used to just use one application and one lab, and that lab gave us the lab results in a specific format that that application expected. Then they said we're going to start using other labs. Those labs are sending us files that are in various formats. They all have a row header at the top, and then the rest of the data. So we can expect that much. But the order of the columns and which columns and the column names themselves, we don't control. They just give us what they give us. We can ask them to update the spreadsheet that they send us, but they just send us what they send us. That said, we needed a way to transform the data they give us into the stuff that our database is expecting. And so I'm like, that should be pretty easy. We should just be able to map from, read the file in and then provide some UI to say this field maps to this field maps to this field. And then as I was doing that, they were like, well, we need to be able to say that even though the lab sample ID is coming in like this, the actual lab sample number is the numeric value at the end, and the lab sample itself is the first two sets of numbers together. So we needed a way to transform the data, not just transform it in a way where one field is getting turned into, is getting transformed into a different value, but one field is populating multiple target fields, or one target field is being populated by a concatenation of multiple fields that are also being transformed. And then it just went, This is the part where you find out that no external data provider understands the CSV standard. We are using Excel Data Reader, which is a really cool NuGet package. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It sounds like a simple transformer class for every input source. We're only handling XLS files and XLSX. So Excel files and CSVs, but we should be able to manage doing any delimited file. We just tell it what the delimiter is. But what I'm really wanting to do is to, gosh, where is this thing? Helper? File reader. What I'm really wanting to do is to decouple the file reader capabilities from the actual reader itself. Oh, is that what this is? Yeah, that's what this is. So I have an interface for saying you plug in your own data file reader if you want. I will provide by default, if you so choose to use it, the Excel data reader implementation that I did. So you feed me a file or the file request, which includes the file bytes. I'll feed it through the Excel data reader and output a data set or an imported data file that has a data set with data tables and all of that fun stuff. But you don't have to use my implementation. You can make your own implementation. So what I'm really wanting to do is completely pull out the Excel data reader part of it into a separate library that you could also include and then just do the program.cs builder.services.add Excel file reader or something like that. But yeah, so you're absolutely right, Bob. It's just an ETL application. I could have gone out and maybe found one. There are most likely ones out there that are for money, and whatever I could do that would, yeah, I don't know. I don't know because since I've taken so long on it, it probably would have costed less if we just did some off the shelf product. But at least what we're getting from this is that open source version of the core library that does this. And so there will be a NuGet package that is available for free that is hopefully going to be robust enough to read any delimited file, Excel files, other structured files, turn them into C# objects using transformations. And then you get to do whatever you want with it as a developer. Hello, Snubble. Phyllis Snubble says, well, I agree on MR is more logical than PR. I think the world decided on PR. True. But I got my windmills too. Bob says, you could always use BizTalk. Yeah. And right now, you can definitely make recommendations for products I could use, but most likely I won't be pursuing going after any other products, especially after how much time we've already invested into this. How do I create a folder in GitHub? I don't know how to do it in GitHub, but because in order to have a folder, it needs to have at least one item in it for Git repositories. So what I would recommend is cloning it to your local machine and adding a folder that way and then doing a push, a commit. But if I recall correctly, an empty folder wouldn't get committed. You'd at least need to have a file in there. Bob says, I would guess that you can add a file with a slash. Possibly, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Snubble is still saying, I use VSS. Just use VSS. You'll be fine. Can't go wrong. I use shared folders. Goodness. we just we just keep all of our projects on a shared network drive with the understanding that each person is going to copy the file to their local computer and then make changes that way. The red stapler version control, what is that? I'm going to try to continue on this because I haven't made any progress since we've been doing a lot of talking. So this is one of those instances where I will probably not be reading chat for a little bit, except for this one. The idea is you have a shared folder with all source, but only the person with red stapler can update the code. Even better. My favorite function of VSS is to lock files so no one else can work on them. Project Final, then Project Final -2, then 2-1. And that's bottle number 1. This one doesn't have a lid on it, which was dangerous because I just kind of picked it up like it had a lid on it. Okay, so I will try to mark my place in chat. Hopefully it will keep that as you continue chatting. I need to figure out why how to approach this. So I need to be able to add new source fields for my custom fieldless rule. Because it's not source. Oh my gosh, I need to remember how this is structured is what I need to do. We have a mapping rule. Now let's start from the top. We have a field mapping. Models. We have a field mapping. That field mapping has a mapping rule, a single mapping rule, not a collection of mapping rules, just one mapping rule. That is represented in our UI here. This row is a field mapping with a target type field, so a property from our target type named lab sample ID. You choose the mapping type. That mapping type is a mapping rule. The mapping rule has the source field associated with it. And this is where I'm going wrong because the custom field mapping will not have a source field associated with it. Source field is a field transformation. The problem is without a field transformation, we don't have a source field to use. Or we don't have a way to define a rule. Okay, so the thing that I should do is create a field transformation with a, oh man, but the field descriptor is required for a field transformation. What I'm thinking of doing is picking an arbitrary field from the target, from the source. Even though we are going to completely ignore the field transformation, the source field at that point. And the reason for that is because source fields in use Shout out to Big Amy who just said my name. And he's gonna think it was Duka Duka Duka. Okay, so source fields in use is looking for our source field transformations where the field dot field name is not null. So the field itself is not null and the field name is not null. Okay. I'm going to need to make this a little bit more thoughtful, which is going to be something like source field transformations dot value transform dot any x dot value transformations kind of thing. So if there are no source field transformations that have a value transformation as opposed to a target field, because the value transformations again are these rules that we're putting in here. Oh gosh, that's even worse, man. So something else that I completely forgot to consider is if we start with no field, then we can't do things like perform a calculation on the field value. Well, I guess this one's fine because $0 will just output as $0. The problem is we don't have rows of data at this point because the rows of data are tied to the field that we use for this. That's not going to work either. But if we're trying to do something like interpolate, which is to use the existing value from the field and concatenating other values to it, there is going to be no existing value for that field. So doing a custom rule, a fieldless rule, doesn't really make sense. Unless we provide the entire data set. Unless we provide the entire data set to the rule. Then we wouldn't need a field. But then we would also need to filter out what transformations we can apply to a custom rule that doesn't have a field. And that would only be conditional. Fine. Conditional and combine. Right? Right. Ooh. That was weird. Okay. And you are a list. Oh, we can do .count on you. Okay, so let's start with this. And we're gonna fly with it. We're gonna see what happens. When we choose the conditional rule and we click on custom customize, which is here. Yay! Cool. And Scott is trying to hug Zip. I think it's a hug. Or just beg for gold. Are you a no face? Oh. Waving arms in excitement. Okay, that was the intent. That's what matters. Ooh, this is a required field too. Man, I am trying to do I'm trying to hack it. Is what I'm trying to do. All right. We push configure. We get the field mapping that we're working with. If the field mapping, if field mapping dot source, nope, mapping rule. So we know we're going to have a mapping rule because the mapping rule just got set to the custom field. Or did it? Or did it? All right. I think I know where we need to look. We need to actually look at the code for picking the mapping rule first before we get to the code for editing. And so that should be in field mapper editor base. Our field mapping rule. So yeah, we are actually setting the field mapping rule. Where is my list of field mapping rules? Is that you? That's you. Handle field mapping rule changed. Okay. Okay. We are going to get the field mapping rule. If the field mapping rule is the existing field mapping rule, do nothing. Otherwise, create a new field mapping rule instance. If the field mapping rule is, so now we're going to do a switch. Yeah, we're going to do a switch. So that should hopefully be this exact same code here. Because I want another case for custom field list rule, CFR. I mean, yes. Because I'm not thinking through this. Stop interrupting me. Not you guys. You guys are doing great. You're fine. Talking to Copilot. Let me get my thought out. Okay. If we're choosing the custom fieldless rule, where the source field transformations count is 0. Yeah, so this is the thing that I was thinking of doing. Pick an arbitrary field, so in this case, the first field of the field descriptors, and set that as our our first source field transformation. But that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is introduce a variable for getting the data table. Public data table, active data table. And this would be a lot easier if everything in this library used the state that I'm using. So I created this iData import utility state somewhere. Didn't I? No. The state is only in the UI. So the entire library itself is stateless. Therefore, it needs to pass the information needed to each object so that the information persists. Uh, and the other thing is, I can't require this because of the way that I am instantiating the mapping rule. I'm not able to initialize properties that are required. And I don't want to make it nullable. But it would not be correct for me to put the required keyword on it as well as the allow null, because there's nothing to tell, make everything nullable. There's nothing to tell the developer that's consuming this that they need to make sure that this gets initialized before they try to use it, unless I make it nullable, in which case the IDE will say this is potentially null. Even better, nullable strings. I don't have a problem with nullable strings. Oh, I guess I may as well read the last bits of chat that you had. I thought there was going to be a lot more to that conversation. But Snobble was saying to Bob, when you come back, everyone will know your name. Oh, first go on vacation. Because Bob was like, my favorite function of VSS is, oh yeah, my favorite function of VSS is to lock files so no one else can work on them. Then Snobble said, no way, no. Snobble said, then go on vacation, and when you come back, everyone will know your name. Also, I reworked my MMX could SSE to support transparent sixels. Oh, okay. I reworked my MMX code. I said on software solutions engineering to support transparent pixels, I'm guessing. Then Bob said, yes, I added an image to my site. Now I need to learn scaling and free floating images. You will, depending on how you added the images, if you're just using image elements, if it's just an image element, then you will probably benefit from knowing a little bit of CSS, something like width, auto, height, and then set your height to something. I don't really remember off the top of my head. Dukasoft is back. He says null way to Snobble's comments of make everything nullable, even better, nullable strings. And then Scott said, we are thrilled to announce the new GPT-4o Copilot code completion model is now available in Visual Studio 17.14. I mean, it's, to my knowledge, that's what my Copilot has been using. Yes, and Copilot chat. Oh, just the overall Copilot itself. Code completion model. Oh. Oh, okay. Cool. This advanced model based on GPT-4o Mini has been further trained on over 275,000 high-quality public repositories across more than 30 popular programming languages. As a result, developers can look forward to more accurate suggestions and enhanced performance. Scott then said, if anyone is interested, there's that. And latest Visual Studio preview, that's Copilot chat. Code completion Copilot is 3.5 turbo. So as soon, wait, where did you get latest VS preview? Oh, 17.14 is preview. Okay. And then Snubble is saying, since the universe is made up from strings, so should our data we use in our code. It makes sense if you don't think about it, of course. And then yeah, there's the link for it. For more info on how to enable it, yeah, I'm not putting preview on this computer anymore. At least not for a while, not until I need to start playing with stuff. Some computers even have a Copilot button. Yes, mine should. I was working for an OEM that manufactured PCs, and I was working on a diagnostics software, trying my best not to give away who the client actually was at the time. I was working on a diagnostics software, and when the Copilot key on the Windows keyboard or on keyboards was starting to come out, as well as the Copilot app itself, Windows Copilot. It all just got confusing. But that just made a whole bunch of our processes like need to stop, focus on getting Copilot key to work, and do all the testing and stuff for the Copilot key. It was good times. Okay, if we are a custom field rule, we need to supply the data set. How are we going to get the data set? Do we have access to the data set here? We have imported field records. We could have access to the entire data set because we can just pass all of the field descriptors. Do we already have that? Because all of the field descriptors have their own copy of all of the values, all of their own values. A physical Copilot. Nice. Anyway, welcome in, Sir Celsus. Celsus? All of them? None of them? Was I even close? Okay. I do have to let a train of thought go all the way through here so that I can implement something. I want to take a step forward. In our field mapper editor base, which is the base component that makes this window. And the reason it is a base component is because it's overridable, and you can override implement your own field mapper component while still using the rest of the component library if you so chose. So that is represented by this field mapper editor, our base implementation of the field mapper editor. While I'm waiting for that, the direction that I was going was, if you select a custom field rule, we are passing in. No, it's more when you start editing. When you start editing and we turn on this show configure transform switch, we are passing all of the field descriptors to that field transformation configuration. So we do have access to it already. We don't need an extra field to get all of the data table data. Got it. That's one train of thought. It's complete. We can continue with the chat while I continue with more. Pursuing that, we are now in the field transformation value configuration. What are you called? We're now inside of this component. Thank you. Exactly. We're now inside of the field transformation configuration component, which will now have all of the values based on the fields that you select. The reason that we started adding this, giving me the full list of field descriptors, is because, did you finally run? No, it did the erroring thing. Yep. You're so mean to me. Why are you taking so long to just rebuild? You make no sense. Are you good now? You're good. Okay, so the field descriptor, the set of field descriptors is the set of all of the columns and their data types that were imported from the file that was provided. And for each column, for each individual field, the set of data for that field in the order they appear, in row order. So that's being passed to this window here. So we still have the field value descriptors, which is what's populating this list. So this is the field descriptor or imported record field descriptors dot field names sorted, obviously. Then when we click on the edit, that list is also being passed to this. But the outputs that are showing here are specifically for the field that's chosen on this screen. So if I chose a field like lab sample ID, then these fields here are the distinct lab sample ID values from this column, even though we have the full list, we're just distincting them before displaying them here. So that when I'm doing these transformations, I can see what the output would be for the entire set of unique values for that field, as well as for an individual transformation in the pipeline. So let's do this. And then if I do something else to it here, like my go-to, extract all numeric sequences, then we can see in the first step of the pipeline, we concatenate the original value with then in the second step, we're extracting all numeric values and we get an array back that is 28019778332. Then we can do stuff with that, like let's do calculations on the first number plus the third number. I don't know. To the wait, why is that broken? That should work. I could have sworn that I got oh, oh. I was like, I could have sworn that I told calculate to work on arrays as long as the value that we're getting out is numeric or is convertible to a number. So that does work. So we are able to see at each step, here's what's happening. And then we can go down here and let's say that only one of these had an error. We could click on that and then see what the value is at each step and find out where the error is. So that's going to be really helpful for debugging for a customer or a user debugging their formulas, their transformations, blah, 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 blah. However, the issue that we are now at is that we want to be able to use conditional statements in here. Conditional statements don't necessarily use the value of the field that was selected. Instead, they have a if whatever you're using for your left value decision, whatever you're using for your operator, whatever you're using for your right value decision, and not only that, the between needs two right values. And what about ands? Oh my gosh, I'm making it too complicated. This is almost a case for wanting to make the drag and drop for the conditional operation UI. Let's do test DDMS. No, let's actually go to this. So I already have something that is, so this generates a SQL statement by using a drag and drop UI. We have the place to get our fields from. We already have the logic for being able to say is equal to, greater than, less than, between, all of that stuff. We also have JavaScript issues. and grouping. So if all of this stuff, this would be our criteria, then left side, right side. I think I want to use that. How close are we to getting this done? Because I was only thinking of the case where the user is wanting to say, if this left value is equal to this right value, then do this thing. Or if this left value is greater than this right value, or if this value is, all of those. I forgot about the betweens case, but that's fine. The in case is also another thing. The is false is just going to be like checking for actual Boolean values, null. Yeah, so I think in, not in, between, and was there one other one? Not between. And no, contain is fine because that's the string contain or array contain. Right. In could work if the right value produces an array. But anyway, point is, this is not going to work well for us the way it is, except for the case where we're only going to compare one field with its transformation to another field with its transformation. Or a constant value or whatever. The point is that we don't have the field itself to tell us these are the distinct values. In this case, we're using the entire set of values based on the fields that are chosen, which we can see, and now we can distinct on, but I need a way to be able to store this in the rule. So let's take a look at this is called a mapping configurator or mapping config. Handle field selection changed. We find the field. Why are we doing copy rule only? Okay. Oh gosh. And of course, I need to step away for a really quick second. I will blurb. Jiminy Christmas. Here I go. Is that too long? Ads are almost done. Oh. Okay, let's keep running. So this code, this component here was generated by Claude, and I haven't reviewed it yet. And there are obvious issues with it. Nice. Shout out to Canny Dev. Those are awesome. So Canny is a really, really interesting character. I forgot what I said I was gonna call him. Mind, body, spirit complex. Mind, body, soul complex. Because I still have no idea what creature or creatures go into making him appear like that. Could be a panda, I think, was discussed last time, but then I realized he was talking about Panda who hangs out up there with them. So it kind of looks like it could be a blue panda. Something likable for sure. And he never tells me when I ask him, what all inspirations went into your making? A unique life form that has developed to a software architect over a long time span. It is highly... Oh! Are Canny's pronouns it and that? And they? I guess I never really asked, did I? It's highly interested in game dev and likes technology. Or the Canny, like you would say, the dog, is a unique life form. And so Canny is just not Canny's name. It's the name of the species. So Canny is a Canny. I think we've solved it. Anyway, Canny Dev. Check out its stream. Very fantastic game developer and overall developer. I mean, they do all sorts of software development and very, very smart, very amazing. A little chaotic for me sometimes. Like I don't know that I could keep their stream turned up as loud because they play the same song that's kind of circusy, and oh man, it's really, really hard for me to keep that going in my earballs. Okay, where are we at? We're in the rule configurator. Other people are going live, like Seto, for example. So I need to set up my lurkage. Setolix. Man, Big Gamey is still going. Awesome. We're gonna go for about another hour. Hopefully I'll get something figured out. My brain will snap back and I'll stop beating myself up over stuff. So here's where we're selecting the field. When the field selection changes for the conditional specific rule. So this really is more of a conditional mapping rule. But I don't want to extend the name of it even more. So in here we have the list of field descriptors, which means that we have access to the entire data set. We have the mapping rule itself that we are working with. So what we need to do is when we select a field for this particular mapping rule, that's the other thing that I should mention. This will represent conditional transformation. This will represent the, oh man, it's all over the place. This will represent the true mapping rule, the false mapping rule, which are the two that are shown in the UI as then and else, as well as the comparison operation, left operand, and right operand. So each of these is going to be displayed using a mapping rule config panel. So when we're looking at this class here, at this component here, we are imagining we're looking at the left operand, for example. Only this thingy here. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Okay, so let's do custom real quick because that one's going to be easy. Our custom is just going to be the button. No. Custom fieldless rule. Whatever, sure. Update it. And it's just going to be the button. Show config. Right. I think we do button O1L button default. Show configuration. On click will be the edit mapping. It's just going to be the exact same code that we wrote for the field mapper editor. Which is a lot of repeated code. I know. I'm having trouble keeping track of this. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff in here that I really needed to review. Why did I click on that twice? Gosh, this is really hard. Field mapping dot source. Oh my gosh. I can't brain right now. I am totally losing it. Mapping rule. Source field transformation, first or default. Let's just do this for now, see where we get. If that is null, we'll default to a new field transformation using null. No field. Man. Struggling to brain right now. Well, we got this. So let's on quick. Cur mapping. What are we passing into this parameter? Field transform. No. I don't think we need any parameters. I'm not doing a great job of thinking right now. Yeah, so the field mapping itself should have been passed into this component as a parameter. It wasn't. So who is using field mapping currently? You are. So we're creating a new field mapping. I see. So we are not passing in the field mapping. Only 16,000? I would have thought you had 1 billion by now. Am I really that cheap? I don't give you enough pop points, do I? That's so weird. By watching. Just by being here. I could have sworn that you guys would have been in the hundreds of thousands. Like, even Nerd Herder, who was here since the very beginning of Paw Points, only has 128,840 according to that. And like on Irish John's channel, who I've probably been following just as long, I have like 500,000 doubloons. I don't know. Wakarimasen desu. Gamble. Wrong channel. There's just something about this that is completely wrong. Yeah, that's what I thought. I would have thought you would have been more around that range. You should be able to see your paw points underneath the stream. Is it more than? Unless that's the stream element. Wait, isn't that what this is? Yeah, paw points is different, isn't it? So stream elements has its own point system that is different than the Twitch points. Number says, "Oh, I got some points." I don't know what you can use them on. I don't have gamble turned on. Maybe one day. I don't know. Wait. You can redeem something with points. So I need to actually put stuff in a shop or something for you to be able to redeem, kind of looks like. So exclamation point redeem will give you a message that says you need to tell me what item, but I don't have any items. Redeem Lamborghini. And apparently you can see them at onelion/store. Ducky. And this is what the store says. I have 0 paw points. Yeah, so I have no idea how to add stuff to the store or anything like that. Yes, I do. I don't think you'd be able to do that unless you're a mod. Chat commands. Give points. Give points. Nope, give points is just turned off. Roulette is gamble your life away, which I don't have turned on. Slots is turned off. I like that I have wrong song turned on, but I don't have request song turned on. Anyway, this is too much for me. It's too much for me. Oh, add points. Right song. Okay. Swan song. Nice. Okay. So here's where we're at, I think. I'm trying to not be bilocated right now. The application has an exception, which is why we don't see it starting up. The exception is cannot insert null. Can you give me a bigger clue of which component is causing this? I mean, it's obviously going to be this mapping configurator. And it's going to be this new case that I added. Did it work? Ubisoft? Check the leaderboard again. Redeems 119 PC. And it looks like no. Aha. Well, I am not going to do that. I am choosing not to do that. Am I a bad person for that? Probably. Probably just a jerk. Big ol' meanie. Except, I think the smug face is that I gave Dukasoft. I don't even know if this is a thing, but Dukasoft might have admin login to Stream Elements. I don't remember. There's a lot of weirdness. I don't control any of these things. I just rely on Dukasoft. He does all the things. He's best bot. Yeah, I think you'd have to log in with Twitch. Okay. Okay. I got to take a step forward. We're getting an exception that something is rendering incorrectly. We're getting a null. I don't even know what this is. A null component somehow. So what if we just do a full clean and rebuild? Or just rebuild? I'm so confused. Oh! Supermod is required. What is supermod? All right, that happened because my JavaScript TypeScript build thingy deleted the JavaScript file, but then didn't restore it before finishing the build. So now we'll watch it get restored and then finish the build. So weird. I don't know how to fix that. I don't even have a oh, all I did was a build. I haven't tried to run it again yet. Again, I think I'm going to start going back to .NET Run or .NET Watch just to see if hot reload and stuff is working again that way. That way we can just have the console on screen all the time. Yeah, okay. And this way we can just watch when it errors and I don't have to, like, the console begins collapsed. And last time what I tried to do was set my options so that if I do a control F5, it runs the console in here. But I did not like that experience at all. There was something really, really odd. Oh, I could do this, launch external console minimized, false. But for now, I'm going to try turning this back on for integrated terminal. So that if I do control F5, it'll show up in here. I would have to create an invite link, it seems. So pretty sure I don't. Okay. At the moment, I think that's how it should be. Why did it? Oh yeah, because I did a clean and rebuild. I was like, why did it run that time? Okay, here's where we are. Field mapper editor. We have the list of imported record field descriptors. We change this to a custom field mapping. No, it doesn't even matter. We don't care about the custom versus not custom yet. The thing that we do care about is we go into this field transformation configuration, and now this has the list of imported record field descriptors, so that if we do a conditional, then every single one of these elements that have the background color that is not the same as everything else is an individual component called the mapping rule config panel. And that mapping rule config panel has the list of imported record field descriptors as well. That list of imported record field descriptors carries with it the data for all of the rows, which means that if I select a field here and I create a transformation for that field, we should see the distinct values for that field. If I choose analysis lab, we see the distinct values for that field. What I would like to have happen is Man, why doesn't this work? I would like to understand how everything is being maintained. You know what? No, that wouldn't work either. I was going to say we need to make a lot better utilization of state. But again, every single one of these components needs to be stateless. If I'm giving you, the developer, the option to use the components as individual pieces or the entire set of components. But this did work. I mean, this gave me a configurator when I clicked on show configuration, and that's what we just did. But I'm not mentally grasping onto what is happening to the transformations as we do this. What I think should be happening is when we change this to conditional, the transformation type, that transformation type now has a left mapping, right mapping. No, it has a conditional operation, which is this thing, that has a left mapping and a right mapping, and then a what are you called? A true value mapping and a false value mapping. Which is going to be controlled by this thingy for what the mapping rule is. And then this is going to be associated with that mapping rule. Okay, so I have a grasp on the flow of data. Now, is it actually happening? Is where the question that we're asking. So here's one mapping rule. Aha. Okay, let's close out of a lot of this stuff. All of that go away. You go away for now. You can stay. You need to be added. Okay. This is the step that I was missing. When we choose conditional, the UI that displays is here. This is the component. This is where we're picking the mapping rule for the left operand. Oh, gosh. Oh, dear. Oh, my. I was so wrong. This here is the conditional value input. And each one of those, I want to call them highlighted, but highlight isn't the right word. Each one of those sections that have a background color exist directly in here. They are these field sets. Okay. Okay. That said, when we change the mapping rule here, this is where we need to Aha. Aha. Okay. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. We keep track of all of those components individually, or all of those elements individually within this component. So we start with a private mapping rule, left operand. No, left operand. And we're going to default all of these to copy rule, new copy rule. We're going to have the right one. We're going to have the true and the false, maybe. Check out the lint. Dude, You were doing it already. Okay, so we're initializing all of our mapping rules for this UI. I'll worry about restoring the existing mapping rules in a second. But the reason that I want to do this, operand base, comparison operation base. Oh, is he on right now? He is. All right. So, because, yeah, I'm going to make this decision here shortly once I finish this thought, but I think this is going to be the last thing that we do because I am now starting to get onto a train of thought and I don't want to fall off of this train of thought. Because I think this is a good way to go and I don't want to lose it. Choo-choo. Equals new equals operation. Okay, so what I'm doing is when we load this component, we're going to default all of this stuff and keep track of these things individually. That way, if I do change the comparison operation, I'm not going to lose what we already have selected for our left operand and our right operand. Whereas what might be happening currently is, let's say we set a left operand as a copy value and we configure it and we change stuff about it. Then we change the operand itself. Which I guess would be easier to do if we have something where we have the right value. So we configure this and we have the right value. It's currently a copy value. And then I change this to is null. And then I change it back to something that has a right. It kept the copy value. What? Is that what these are? No. Those aren't the actual objects themselves, though. How are you keeping track of that? Value transformation itself. The comparison operation. Okay, here's a thought then. When we change the operation type, which should be this component here, the only thing that we are doing is creating a new instance of it, copying over the left and the right operands, and then updating the comparison operation. But I still don't understand how it kept track of when I changed this to, again, let's say I did basis, and I changed this to something that doesn't need a right operand, like is not null, and then I change it back to something that does. Okay, so it does reset. I am crazy. What I want to do though is keep the right operand what the most recent right operand selection was with the configurations and stuff. That way, if the user does change the operator to something that doesn't need a right operation, and then something that does, that they get back the original right operation that they've already configured. Okay. Good. Then the way that I'm going to start implementing this is instead of updating the value transformation, which where are you getting this even? Is this a parameter that's getting passed in from my base class? Obviously. Yeah, so instead of only keeping track of the types. I'm going to keep track of the actual objects themselves. So I'm essentially going to do what this code is already doing, except to get the type, the actual reference to the object. Okay, good. And then same thing here, except instead of selected left, we're going to just do left instead of type. And then you're going to stop here. All right, so we should be able to do that for you, you, and you. Underscore lowercase. Get rid of type. And get rid of get enum value. Good to go. Okay, so on initialize, we grab the existing mappings information. That way we restore it. We are tracking it now. We will be making changes to the true mapping, false mapping, etc. Which means that we probably don't want these to update immediately, which also means we want a copy of them and not the original. No, I missed. Okay, good. Still on track. So we've restored the original mappings and choices that we've made, which means in the UI itself, we want to replace all of these. Hello, Darren. We want to replace all of these, the bindings. Oh, but these are the types that we need to bind to. So we do still need the types to be updated. That kind of sucks. The thing is, when we are configuring them here, this is where we want the left and right operands themselves, the local ones. The value transformation will still need to be what we can do then is have our own copy of the value transformation as well until we apply this. And that's the big issue. We don't have an apply in this case. We're already working with a copy of the field transformation since we're in this window. But there is nothing that's like apply the left. So we really do need to be updating the left and right operands and the true and false mappings immediately. Okay. So I do want to pass the value transformation. The mapping rule will no longer be a clone of. We need the field descriptors to get passed. Okay, so when we change the left operand, the rule itself is already updated by reference, just trigger change notification. Okay, so this is in case. This is for the two-way binding. No, this is for an on after input callback. The reason that I'm using an on after input callback is so that I can update these example preview transformations for every rule. Okay, good. What else then? Ensure components initialized. We make sure that we have at least a comparison operation. If we don't have a comparison operation, we use the default equals operation that we're setting up here to create a new one. Same thing with left and right operands. Same thing with the true and false mappings. So they will all have their default values up here. And so that's the very first thing that we do. Then we do all of these assignments. That way we make sure that the true, false, left and right operands are all updated. Okay. So I'm going to collapse the things that I'm confident are implemented in a way that are appropriate to what we're trying to do. So then we change the comparison type. And what we want to do with this is set the left operand Yeah, so the left operand will always be the same. We don't need to do anything special with left operand. There is never a case when the left operand would be destroyed. So you can go back to what you were, which is this. How many things did I copy? So that one's fine. Right operand, maybe true and false are also instances where we don't need a copy of it. I collapsed this. I'm like, yeah, we're pretty confident in how that's doing its thing. No, the only one that we need to copy then is the right operand so that it does not Oh no. I totally took these away, though. Okay, Copilot, show them how cool you are. Restore my... Nope. How about now? Value transformation dot. Thank you. Do the same here. Do the same here. Good. I guess it was trying to have me just replace that line instead of go back and delete them. Okay, so what we're doing is we're keeping track of the right operand only because that's the only one that potentially gets destroyed and then returned. Is there a reason that you didn't hot reload? Aha. Except that there was still a error. Are you actually building or are you stuck on in there? So we're keeping only the right operand in memory so that when the operation changes, thank you. When the operation changes, we can capture the previous we can restore the previous right operand. When we're switching, if value transformation dot comparison dot right operand is not null, then we're going to store that in our right operand. This way we're constantly updating right operand. Which means that we can also continue updating only the value transformation itself. Okay, let's give this a test. I think that that should be all that we need to do. Here we go. 404, hot reload not found. Or found. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Do you change you to conditional, choose a right field that is not the default, change this to something that does not need a right operand, change it back to something that does need a right operand, and we've restored that. Now, what if I added some transformations to this? Like, let's do some math. $u plus 0.01215 with unlimited decimal places. Okay. If I go back in, you'll see that that is still there. If I change to is greater than, or no, sorry, is true, which doesn't have a right operand, and then I go back to something that does have a right operand, we keep the entire rule with the transformation changes and all of that stuff. Yes, that's part one. That's actually something that was a bug that needed to be fixed. We took care of a bug. Now I feel like I've gotten something done. Yay. Updated logic for tracking right operand. What is all of this other stuff though? I don't remember making that many changes in that many files. Refactored field mapping logic and custom rule support. Sure, that's exactly what I did. You guys saw. Okay, the next thing that we need to tackle is when we are evaluating this operand, I want to see what the steps are for each of these. That's why we can't have nice things. Inheritance. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Navom is saying, I finally got Renovate fixed too, so victory all around. TLDR, there are repo-specific config files that create an inheritance hierarchy of config. It was disabling grouping. So it's kind of like a cascading config or like imports.razor kind of situation. No, not imports.razor because you can't overwrite previous imports or anything. So more like a cascading style sheet. How about more like app settings? App settings and then app settings.environment.json takes precedence. Okay, we are retaining the right value whenever we change our operation, which is cool. But what would be nice is if the actual evaluation done was being done on the correct values being passed in. And what I don't think is happening is when we change the field. Aha. When we change the field for this mapping rule, which is going to happen here now. Right. Maybe. We're only handling the case where it's a copy rule. So what I need to do is make this act just like it does in the field mapping editor. So here is a cautionary tale from, again, someone who does feel shame about this, but from someone who used AI, who used Claude to generate pretty much this entire field map comparison UI and logic even. as you're going along, find out what it's doing. Don't just accept the code that it gives you blindly. It's here to steal our jobs for a reason, but like, it's still not to the point where it's going to steal our jobs, because you do need someone with the knowledge of software development in order to know what it's doing. It's very impressive. It can write some pretty clean code. However, like with my code base, and I'm not afraid of my code base getting stolen or anything like that. There are definitely things that, like, if it was super duper innovative, um, like groundbreaking new way to do computer science, and I was working on that, then yeah, maybe I would be a little bit more secretive about it, which I would hope I'm not, but maybe I would be being put in that situation. But this is an open source project that I hope can get improved by the community. And so feeding the entire project itself to Claude for it to train on, like anything that you put on the internet can be trained on. I'm not worried about that. If it starts to write code like I write code, awesome. Hopefully it's good code, and hopefully it doesn't steer people wrong. That's just how I feel about it. And again, even if it does take my job, um, there are other skills that I happen to have that I could go into. And even if it takes that job, then I will just keep pursuing whatever is giving me the most excitement. Yeah, exactly. So for me, I want AI to take over UI and UX design. I'll do all of the implementation. I'm okay with that. But so here's an example. I asked Claude to come up with a UI redesign for this entire project, and it came up with this screen. Let's go into here. It came up with this as the improvement plan. And not only did it come up with the improvement plan, but it came up with some screenshots on here's what the workflow could look like. And I hate it. Well, I didn't hate it. This is really cool, but it doesn't match the workflow that we're trying to do. However, when I asked it again, it came up with this. And oh my gosh, this looks amazing. I want to implement this. I want to change the data import utilities base styles to look like this. Of course, it's got some issues with the placing of objects and stuff, but wow. The overall concept, the colors that it's using, the visibility of stuff, it looks really good to me. Like, really good. It even came up with a responsive design for that too. I was like, yeah, yeah. And I mentioned on the previous stream that it's not like I am robbing a UI designer of monetary gain, because it would either be I try to improve the UI or it stays the way that it is. Those are the only two options that would have happened with these projects. And because I now have these tools, I'm like, huh, well, what if I just ask the tool to show me for free? But yeah, there could be ethical considerations there too. Where is it getting these designs from? How was it trained? All of that stuff. So yes, I understand those as well. Um, okay, so I won't be getting any more coding done for the rest of the stream. So I'm going to catch up on chat, which I've been keeping up with chat for the most part. But yeah, check out Valent's stream. We're most likely going to raid over there because I love museums. But I'll finish catching up on chat first, though. I absolutely love museums. And Natural History Museum, Oh my gosh. You couldn't get any better. Which one is he at? Do you happen to know, if you can hear me, if you feel like typing, do you happen to know which natural history museum he's at? Because we have one in Denver that is really good. It's where they had the Dead Sea Scrolls. Oh, it's awesome. Okay. Catching him up in chat is what I said. Don't be sad about using AI. It's here to steal our jobs for a reason. Snobble says I want it to take over project management for me and all of the things I don't enjoy. Yep. I agree. That's why I'm relearning the foundations to get a job using the UI, says Darun. TBD Gamer says, watch this space. Wink you. To Snobble. Yeah, and really that is the thing. It's like if everyone like this is the kind of Friday conversation I would want to have surrounding AI, because I would go on forever. I do want to hear your opinions. I do want to hear any reservations you have, any hazards, any just don't use it, any it's amazing, whatever stance you have on it, I would love to hear. But here is a vision of the future. Right now, we have software developers that are creating applications for things that companies created a need for. So we're essentially just making things over and over as software developers. It is not often, in my opinion, I could be completely wrong about this. I haven't done statistical analysis, I haven't done surveys, but it seems like it's not often that you as a developer will get the chance to create a new innovative thing. You will most likely be solving a problem that a company has that's been solved before, but you're still doing it yourself the way that you would do it, or part of a team. Because their software development has been a thing for a really long time, and just about every issue that, or every situation that a company has most likely already has an existing solution. Yeah, and if you do something that challenges the paradigms, you're going to get hurt. I don't exactly know what that means, but most likely, yes. I think people who refuse to use AI are similar to those who said the internet was a fad. Probably. But here's the thing. We are already doing a job as software engineers, as designers, both in the UI space, architects, project managers. We're doing all of these roles because there was a need created by companies. Yes, exactly. And I want to hear them, DVD. I really do. Man, I wish this was a community day stream, and I wish that I wasn't ending soon. Oh, man. But yes, if you have the chance to talk about it on your stream while I'm there, I would absolutely listen to your thoughts because I want to hear them. Um, so, point is, the point that I'm trying to get to is we're doing a role that was invented, and we're redoing things that have been done before and getting paid to do it, which is awesome because a lot of us enjoy doing those things. But there's a lot of the development process that a lot of us don't enjoy. Most of us here that I know of don't like doing UI work. We don't like the design. We don't like front end stuff that's like the user has to interact with this, so I need to think about it in this way, and I need to plan for this. Snobble loves doing UI work. Well, there you go. So we do have some people that do, but I'm not allowed to. You are definitely allowed to. For me, I started enjoying it while we were working in Figma for the financial management tracker. I enjoyed using the tool, but again, coming up with the designs was still really hard for me. Mapping out the designs and sketching them and mocking them up in Figma, that part was fun. Creating the actual designs themselves was hard. And I will read the rest of your comment when you get it, Napalm. So there are all of these things that designers don't like to do. let's say there's someone that only wants to do design work. They enjoy creating these amazing, cool designs, but they don't want to have to mock up the images because they aren't good at the tools. They aren't good at Figma. They aren't good at art. They aren't good at 3D design tools. iPad cropped out. Totally okay. You can write your thing. And so they're going to have things that they don't like to do. Architects, they love designing the entire system and how everything should operate together, but they hate configuring or updating configurations or figuring out how exactly they need to write the command to do XYZ. So they would prefer to outsource remembering all of the possible commands for a specific scenario that they are facing. Developers typically don't like doing front-end work. They typically, from what I can tell, like doing the functionality programming, the back-end work. So they want to outsource the design, which is why companies hire teams of developers. But now companies want full-stack developers that do the whole gambit. If they want that, they're going to have to deal with developers that use AI. But point is, here's what I picture in the future. With AI, if we allow ourselves to use AI as a tool to do the things that we don't enjoy doing, instead of outsourcing it to another person, for example, and everyone did that, let's say everyone in the world who is in a specialization did that. They went to AI for all the things that they don't care to do. Yeah, I'm definitely not bringing that up on screen, but I know the site, you've shown it before. So imagine this. Let's say I'm a designer and I love doing the design work. I love thinking up how the elements should lay on the page, but I don't have great art skills. So I'm like describing my design to AI and it draws it up for me. And then let's say that further, I want to go ahead and make this into a prototype workable app, minimum viable product. So the AI generates the code to do that. And now they have this thing and they are marketing their skills by having been the original designer for doing that. Then there's someone like me who loves to write code. I love to write functionality for stuff. I love to come up with code structures and approaches to doing things, but I don't like coming up with the UI for it. So I ask AI to do the design part, while the designer is over here already using AI to do the software development part. So everyone is then in their specialization still able to do the full gambit. The companies now can say, I want you, person who is more specialized in design work, that will use AI to generate the code that we're looking for. I want you, person that is specialized in software development, that will use AI to generate the UI designs. And so there will be it'll still be balanced, in my opinion. But instead of working together as teams of people with specializations, every individual has what they use AI for to get the job done. Yeah. Which again, still does not address the issue of where did the AI get its training data. That's a big topic. That's discussable. But we are out of time. I'm choosing to be out of time because I want to do my time card and I still want to finish up this process that I started going down because I'm excited for it now. Before I do that, I'm going to go to this screen, but I'm going to read all of chat. I'm going to read the rest of chat from where I left off. Okay. So I left off where Napalm's iPad decided to crap out. And he was saying, I used to like it in response to UI, but it's iPad crapped out. I used to like it, but it's very time consuming to do well. I agree. So is regular software development, but it's the thing that I want to spend the time on and not doing UI design and development. TBD says, things were so much easier when Times New Roman and a little under construction GIF were acceptable web development. True. I did say GIF. That is how I pronounce it. I don't shame anyone for pronouncing it GIF, if that's how you pronounce it, just so you know. Darun says, I'd do any of it if it meant getting out of property management. Napalm says, this is UI. Sorry if not appropriate, but I find it hysterical. And provided the link to it. And then Snubble said, I also want AI to do ops and incident management and partner support and root cause analysis and dealing with our product owners. So yeah, like in this case, it will be up to companies to decide which people they want. Which again, you could argue that some positions would still be more important to companies than others. Like possibly, this is just bias and this is pure opinion, possibly having a full stack developer that has mediocre UI skills but can use AI to make a great UI would be more desirable than a designer who has mediocre software development skills, who can use AI to generate great code. And I don't know why that would be the case, but I'm just making a counter argument to my first imagined scenario where companies would still prefer to hire people with a certain set of skills, if that person is going to be cheaper, of course, than to hire multiple people with their specialized skills. Because it all comes down to money. TBD said, if we rely solely on AI, we're going to lack any form of imagination in our design. See conversation from earlier in this very stream where automated realms could not reply in any other way. Exactly, because I have the temperature turned up so high. But you're absolutely right. Things will turn into cosmic latte. Everything will become the same color. Everything will look the same. Yeah. And then Napalm says to TBD Gamer, hasn't that already happened? Bootstrap. Yeah, so all of these UI frameworks that everyone uses, but still there are really talented UI designers. And that's what I'm trying to get at. There are going to be people that absolutely love UI design, and they're going to use AI to do the other parts that they don't love. We're going to have people that absolutely love software development, and they're just going to use AI to do the UI stuff, for example. And then different companies will choose the people that they want to focus on. I want the person that's going to give me a unique UI for our product, as opposed to the person that's going to give us a great functioning website that looks crappy or looks mediocre or looks the same as everyone else's because they're using AI. So just my thoughts. And I want to hear yours. Dang it. I wish I could just let you jump into Discord right now and tell me. But I'm wrapping up. Write down your thoughts or record your thoughts, TBD. Use Windows Audacity, turn on your mic, record, and then send me the audio. Napalm says to TBD, hasn't that already happened? Darun says, can I just build 3 projects with Cursor and apply to jobs instead of actually learning the code? You could, and that's the argument. You could do whatever you wanted to do. It's up to the companies to see through that and decide who they want to hire. And when you get the job, it's not going to happen. When you get the job, and if you do purposefully try to do that, I'm just going to end the stream right now. When you do get the job because you used AI to blow through your interview and win at your interview, and you start doing the work, the cracks are going to show. You're not going to be able to hide forever. People will know. That's why I am absolutely open with the way that I have a workflow. I'm getting more and more comfortable with having this as my workflow by telling you about it. Okay. TBD Gamer says, if I get someone to interview that can't actually code but can use Cursor, I'm out of this profession. Dukesoft says, hi, out of time. I'm TimeSoft. The problem with our UI is that front-end devs don't let anyone else touch it. So it's not an AI thing for me. Big Gamey says no, and then Dukesoft did a shout out. Just another hour, maybe? No, I need to go because I'm already tacking on, what is this now, 2 hours to this. I'm not even going to do music hobby. Yay. I'm just going to be doing this job instead. I mean, the stuff that I haven't been... Anyway, you get what I mean. Napalm is gone. See ya. Good evening. TBD Gamer says to Napalm, have a good rest of your day. Yes, Big Gamey says Darun. Big Gamey played archery a couple times. Our AI overlords have spoken. You are stuck, One Lion. I guess. Sure. I'm still going to continue using it as a tool. I'm going to do my best to be open about it, be transparent. And you are allowed to have whatever kind of reaction to that you want. I'm not going to dictate to you how you should be responding to me. Okay. So with that, that is definitely going to be the end of the stream. We're going to head over to Belent, which I think, is that where you ended up going? It came. Oh, man. Is that where you ended up going? So we're going to go there too. I love natural history museums, and he is at one live, and he has much better connection there. So let's start the raid so that I can get back to work and finish out my work day before I have to go cook. Let's go. We are raiding science streams, aka Belint. Check out all the peoples we talked about earlier. Check out Dukesoft. Shout out to Dukesoft. Should be good to go. Who will eventually stream again. No pressure, of course, from me. Maybe from other people, but not from me. He streams drone footage of his local area, maybe other places that he travels. Beautiful shots, very high definition, great music choices that he has on his stream, great conversations. It's always a good time, has been a good time. So definitely check it out whenever you see him go live. If you follow him, you'll be notified when he goes live again. He was just waiting for better weather, and then, of course, the time to be able to. So I don't blame you for not getting to it as soon as possible, but just letting you know that you do have great streams. Check out Big Gamey. Check out all the people that we have shouted out during the stream. And yeah, TBD Gamer, Big Gamey. I don't remember who else. But I will be back again on Friday for Community Day, 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time. Okay, ciao.